Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. Welcome back to the podcast, and of course, it's Friday, which means here that we bring you FOMO Friday. FOMO Friday just simply means that we're bringing you the stories of the week that you should probably know about, maybe heard a little bit about, whatever the case may be, because you're not listening to propaganda media. You want to know what's going on around the world. We don't want you to have that fear of missing out, so we bring you FOMO Friday every Friday right here on the podcast. And there's a lot to get to this week. Another shooting happened by the violent left, and it happened this week in Dallas, Texas, at an ice facility there. The ice facility was shot up from a top of a roof across the street. They were loading some illegal aliens into a van through a sally port. And they and the shooter just simply opened fire on the facility and on the van. There was an actual death, actually two deaths. Two illegal immigrants were killed in that, and a couple more were injured. And then the shooter shot himself to death. So, who was the shooter? Well, yep, he was a very anti-ICE type guy. He was a part of, again, the violent left, which we're seeing a lot of, and he was. It looks like he had some ties to Antifa, which of course has been designated as an domestic terrorist organization now by Donald Trump, and that's awesome. That is a long time coming, and it should have happened a long time ago, because basically that's what they are. They are a domestic terrorist organization, and so now they've been classified as such. But kind of getting off of that, Charlie Kirk's memorial happened on Sunday. I'm not going to go too deep into that today, just simply because there has been a lot said about it. We've talked about it this week, basically with Mondays and Wednesdays podcasts. We even played his wife's speech, which I thought was super powerful, and one of the better speeches I've ever seen. We talked a little bit about Charlie Kirk and who he was and what he represented. But I will say that his memorial was awesome. I would have loved to have been there, but I did watch and listen to it. It was definitely one of those things that Turning Point USA really put on a wonderful memorial, given the circumstances, even given the very limited period of time that they had to do this in, the fact that there were so many dignitaries and things coming in. I mean, basically, you had the president, the vice president, and his cabinet. I mean, a lot of different people coming in. They all wanted to speak. Lot of famous people. And to put this together the way they did with all the security and everything was really extraordinary. And the memorial itself was basically just like, it seemed like it was just like one big church service, wasn't it? I mean, if you saw it, they were worshiping almost the whole time. They were honoring Charlie in a way that I thought very fitting. And in fact, when you have so many people that were worshiping and talking about God, and I mean, all the way from the president, the vice president, all these guys, almost every single speaker up there spoke to his spiritual side as well, and this was awesome, and this is the type of thing that helps turn lives around for Christ, and it was absolutely amazing. So again, we've talked a little bit about it. I didn't want to go too deep today, but that did happen on Sunday and was absolutely amazing. What's not absolutely amazing is some of the things that are coming out now about the Biden administration. As through a series of articles from the Daily Wire comes this one. It says, as the Biden administration locked up elderly grandparents and devout Christians over peaceful pro-life protests, it partnered with a radical pro-abortion organization to prosecute pro-lifers. Previously unreleased emails have now come out, and they are showing this. So President Joe Biden's Justice Department and FBI partnered with the National Abortion Federation for multiple investigations into pro-life protests and developed an, quote, amazing relationship, unquote, according to emails shared with the Daily Wire by the Functional Government Initiative. This is a watchdog group that told the Daily Wire that the emails show a disturbing picture of DOJ's early eagerness to meet with pro-abortion lobbyists and activists and punish pro-life Americans in the aftermath of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. The revelation of the apparent partnership came in a message sent by National Abortion Federation Security Manager Robert Ledargue on January 9th of 2023. In the Justice Department's requesting a meeting with Kristen Clark, then the Justice Department's Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. The National Abortion Federation is the professional association for abortionists. Can you imagine such a group? But it does exist. In the email, Ledargue wrote that both the Justice Department and the FBI had partnered with the DOJ on multiple Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, that's the FACE Act cases. Now, Biden's crackdown on peaceful protests, pro-life protests, landed elderly grandparents and devout Christians and other pro-life activists in federal prison. We've obviously touched on many of those. Patel, who's head of the FBI, he headed up the Justice Department's task force on violence against reproductive health providers, and Caldwell is one of the current deputy chiefs of the Civil Rights Division, saying that the past year, NAF security has been part of several FACE Act investigations, working with assistant U.S. attorneys and the FBI in Tennessee, Florida, Virginia, California, New York, Minnesota, and North Carolina. The guidance from the team in D.C. has been nothing short of superb, he said. Now, it is unclear which specific FACE Act investigations the National Abortion Federation was involved in, but at least two of the states referenced by him had major FACE Act prosecutions, so including Tennessee and some other ones. So this right here is just absolutely, this can't happen. You have the Justice Department going after Americans. You have our own government going after Americans just simply because they don't like what they believe. They don't like what they're demonstrating about. They don't like the fact that they were against abortion. And at that time, the government was big time in favor of supporting abortions. And so what did they do? They went after these people that did not believe the same thing. And when you turn loose the Department of Justice and things on people just simply for their beliefs that is contrary to what yours are, well, that is just third world stuff, right? And so, but that's what happened under the Biden administration. Now, the Trump Justice Department told the Daily Wire that it had no comment on the actions of the previous administration. That's probably a good thing, right? And pro-lifers arrested under Biden's crackdown included defendants like 89-year-old communist concentration camp survivor Eva Edel and 75-year-old Massachusetts grandmother Paula Paulette Harlow. It also featured armed FBI raids of the rural Tennessee home of Paul Vaughn, who's a father of 11, and Mark Houck, who's a father of 7. So, yeah, we've covered many of those cases, and it's good to see now that we're starting to have evidence of exactly what was going on, and this kind of thing just can't happen. If we are to have a free country, this kind of thing is absolutely just out of bounds, right? But now we're starting to see what everybody kind of knew. I mean, we already knew that this was a thing. Now we're seeing the evidence of what was actually happening. So good for Trump and his administration and these organizations that are coming out now with Freedom of Information Act type information, showing the emails, showing yes, this is exactly what was happening. All right, well, along the lines of abortion, on a state level, again, not a great story, but a Virginia school district has been accused of pushing minor Hispanic students to abort their unborn babies, which is a move that Louisiana Republican Senator Bill Cassidy is warning may have violated federal law. Now, in a letter exclusively obtained by the Daily Wire, the Louisiana Republican calls for Fairfax County Public Schools to explain whether it paid for the abortion of a young girl's baby without her parents' knowledge or consent, and warns the district that, quote, a school official pressured minor students to obtain covert abortions using school funding is illegal, and if proven, requires concrete action by your school board to hold the perpetrators accountable, unquote. Now, Fairfax County Public Schools did not immediately respond to the request, of course. Superintendent Michelle Reed claimed that the district had only just learned about the allegations that week and stated that such behavior would never have been tolerated. Yeah, sure. Cassidy, a physician who chairs the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, writes that in 2021, school officials arranged and paid to abort the baby of a young girl, a minor student, and attempted to do the same for another student without the consent of these girls' parents. I'm going to read that again, okay? Without the consent of these girls' parents. Now, the incident took place at Centerville High School, where school social worker Carolina Diaz allegedly pressured two girls to abort their babies and used school funds to pay for the abortions. A whistleblower teacher says that she brought her concerns to the school administrators 7 times without success. Okay? She went to the administrators 7 times and nothing was done about it. Quote, one 17-year-old girl ultimately had an abortion, while another student who was 5 months pregnant fled from the abortion clinic in fear after being pressured to have an abortion. And Cassidy wrote that both of these young girls alleged that the school social worker, Carolina Diaz, pressured them into having abortions and told one of the girls that she had no other choice. On top of the already horrific situation of a school official pressuring minor students to obtain abortions, it is alleged that school funds were used to pay for the abortion. Now, the senator expressed deep concern at Fairfax County Public Schools seems to be concealing the fact that these allegations were brought to the school's attention years ago, but ignored by the school officials. Public reporting states that a Centerville High School teacher, Perez, Zeninda Perez, claims to have notified school officials about the abortions 7 separate times since May 2022, only to be ignored when retaliated and then retaliated against for blowing the whistle on this conduct. Cassidy wrote, however, this is a quote, however, in an email to Centerville High School staff and families on August 7th of 2025, you claim that the school board only learned about these allegations earlier this week. So I don't know, something's not coming out here, right? something smells. Okay, Virginia Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin directed state police to open a criminal investigation into the allegations on August 13th, noting that the school funds may have been used to abort babies, including local, state, and federal funds. FCPS receives about $50 million a year in financial aid from the federal government, is what Casey noted. And he said that the Hyde Amendment prohibits federal education funding from being used to fund abortions. Well, of course it does, and that's exactly what was happening here. Now, the senator called on the school district to share by October 6th their reporting requirements when school officials become aware of a student is pregnant. And he also requested that the district share, quote, what actions, if any, are taken in response to a school's awareness of a student's pregnancy. Sarah Zagorski is a senior director of public relations and communication at America's United for Life, and argued to the Daily Wire in early September that the parents deserve better than the alleged treatment at that school. And she mentioned a Fairfax County School Board meeting where parents, educators, and community leaders asked questions about the alleged coerced abortions, questioning, quote, whether these were isolated instances or part of a broader pattern of overriding parental rights and disregarding state law. The allegations are deeply troubling, given both of the girls involved were underage, according to Perez, and says that one student who was 5 months pregnant wanted to keep the baby, and she felt like she had no choice. The other girl told Perez that she was terrified because her legal guardians did not know about her abortion. Children need protection and parental guidance, especially when faced with an unplanned pregnancy, not forced secrecy by adults attempting to usurp federal rights of parents to make decisions regarding the well-being of their children, and I guess we could probably say grandchildren as well. So yeah, this is definitely something we'll be keeping an eye on, and again, things that you kind of knew was going on, but now we see evidence of exactly what was happening, and you know, it's sad. It really is. It's a sad situation. But hopefully the light that's shined upon this situation will make those scurry that have been a part of this, and hopefully this kind of thing, it doesn't happen again. So wanted to again, we're kind of dipping into the file of, yeah, we knew this was happening, now we have proof type thing. It seems to be the theme of the week this week. But what we have is Google this time has committed to allowing all creators who were kicked off of YouTube over so-called political speech violations the chance to return to the platform. Yeah. And according to a House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, that's not all. The tech giant sent a letter to Jordan and the Judiciary Committee on Tuesday, but the letter also included several statements from YouTube admitting, among other things, to pressure from the former President Joe Biden's administration to censor certain political statements. Yeah, they were getting a ton of pressure. Again, we kind of already knew that. Here's proof. Jordan shared screenshots of the letter via X, along with a lengthy thread detailing both the contents of the letter and the Judiciary Committee effort to expose and put a stop to social media censorship. Jordan highlighted the key points addressed in the letter, admits the Biden administration censorship pressure was unacceptable and wrong, is what they call it now. That's kind of nice. I mean, this is what Google's saying, okay? It was unacceptable and wrong what they did under pressure from the Biden administration. This confirms that the Biden administration wanted Americans censored for speech that did not violate YouTube's policies. And we can see that. We can see people were getting censored, and they're like, why? This doesn't violate YouTube's policies, and yet I'm taken off. Why? Is it just because I'm conservative, or I'm just because I'm saying something about Christianity, or whatever the case may be? Details when YouTube began rolling back its censorship policies on political speech after the January GOP began its investigation. We saw these things starting to come back, right? They're investigating us. States that that public debate should never come at an expense of relying on authorities, is what they said, and promises to never use third-party fact checkers. Okay, this is a big one. Okay, this is another big. All of these things are things that Google is saying happened and that they were wrong. They promise never to use third-party fact checkers ever again. Now, this was kind of a no-brainer especially during COVID time. A lot of liberals were like, "Oh, this is true because it was fact checked by these fact checkers," or this is not true. What are you talking about? The virus came from Wuhan, or that masks don't work, or whatever the case may be, right? Because these fact checkers said so, type thing. So, then of course it came out that these fact checking organizations were just deeply liberal and just putting out propaganda. And Google also said warns that Europe's censorship laws target American companies and threaten American speech. Now, throughout the thread, Jordan continued to note that Google and YouTube were promising to make changes, including stepping away from the third-party fact checkers, which we talked about, and adopting a community notes model, similar to the one implemented first by X and then later by Meta. He spent a considerable amount of time warning Americans that European authorities were moving to restrict the speech of Americans, even when they were not in Europe, and that European social media regulations were designed to impose a disproportionate regulatory burden on American companies. Stating that the Judiciary Committee would continue in these efforts, he added that, quote, "All the above are massive wins for the American people, the First Amendment, and freedom. We won't stop fighting to protect free speech." So, a lot of a lot of people up in arms, when they come to the Jimmy Kimmel thing, saying, "Oh, this is an attack on free speech." Da, da, da. Well, no, this was an attack on free speech, not Jimmy Kimmel. So anyway, that's that's good that this is coming out. Again, this is something that we kind of already knew was happening, but now we have the proof. And another thing that we had proof and we knew was happening is in relation to the former FBI director James Comey and his role in Russiagate. And now, guess what's happening? A federal grand jury indicted former FBI Director James Comey on Thursday on charges of giving false statements and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. No one is above the law, Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a statement. Quote, "Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people. We will follow the facts in this case." Now, Comey's indictment comes after reports that the Department of Justice was considering prosecuting the former FBI head over statements that he made to Congress in September of 2020 regarding the handling of the investigation into Russia meddling in the 2016 presidential election. So Comey's indictment also comes just days ahead of a major deadline that the statute of limitations was about to run out on September 30th. So they had to get this in before that happened. Now, Comey is the first former Senate senior administration official to be indicted in connection with the Russia collusion conspiracy and the FBI investigation into false ties between Trump's 2016 campaign and Russia. So again, he was one of the driving forces for Russiagate, and obviously we now know that this was something that was set up by Hillary Clinton, and that it was designed to hurt Donald Trump. None of it was true. The Steele dossier, all this stuff, not true. Um, but uh, but FBI director at that time, James Comey, was again a driving force in getting that out there and trying to get that in the heads of the American people and the world, and it just wasn't true. And so he made false statements. He lied under oath, and now he's being indicted. So, well, again, we'll be watching that. Something we knew was happening, and now we have proof. Well, one of the things, President Donald Trump signed an executive order Thursday aiming at ensuring TikTok becomes American operated all the way, he said. So this is big for those that are on TikTok. I personally not on TikTok, never have been on TikTok, don't use TikTok myself, but I know that there are millions of people that do. And of course there was a big hullabaloo when the legislative branch passed a law saying they were going to shut down TikTok in the U.S. because it has been a Chinese operative. And they're definitely gathering information on each user. And so it had to be shut down. Now, the Trump administration has been kind of dragging their feet a little bit on this. But this is good for those that like TikTok. After months of delaying the enforcement of a law banning TikTok, Trump announced a new framework facilitated by the executive order, which would transfer ownership of the social media platform from China to a group of American investors. Congress passed a law in 2024 to either ban the Chinese-owned TikTok or force its sale due to a national security and privacy concerns. This is kind of interesting. Here's the quote. It says, this is going to be American operated all the way, Trump said, as he signed the executive order. And Trump thanked Chinese President Xi Jinping for agreeing to the deal. And he said some of the investors in the project include Oracle CEO Larry Ellison, entrepreneur Michael Dell, and Rupert Murdoch. So there's a number of big names here. The Vice President J.D. Vance played a key role in negotiating the framework. And he said that the deal would allow Americans to use TikTok with more confidence than they had in the past because their data is going to be secure and it's not going to be used as a propaganda weapon against our fellow citizens. Vance said that TikTok was valued at around $14 billion and that more details about the specific investors would be released in the coming days. So kind of an interesting note there. Again, if you're a TikTok user or whatever, you're probably pretty happy today because it looks like it's going to be able to continue on in the U.S. And do so securely. So that's awesome. Well, we want to wrap things up today with a little bit of humor, and who better to provide that humor than Kamala Harris? Can we go there today? So she's coming out with her book, and so she's been on a speaking tour, and there's some in very Kamala fashion. There's some really interesting things coming out. Former Vice President Kamala Harris told MSNBC host Rachel Maddow that I didn't watch this whole thing, but man, those two together. Yeah. Anyway, she told Rachel Maddow that she didn't decide against choosing former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg as her running mate because he is gay, but rather she opted not to choose him as her running mate because he is gay. Yeah. Seriously. Harris spoke with Maddow, who is openly gay herself, by the way, about her upcoming memoir, 107 Days, as it's called, in which she said that she felt it would be difficult to win a race as a black woman if her running mates were gay, saying that Pete Buttigieg would have been an ideal partner if I were a straight white man. But we were already asking a lot of America to accept a black woman married to a Jewish man. Part of me wanted to say, screw it, let's just do it. But knowing what was at stake, it was too big of a risk. So So yeah, basically, as it turns out, she's saying that no. I did not choose him because he was gay. I just didn't choose him because he's gay. Can you imagine if she had won the election and she had been our president? Man, I mean, we dodged a bullet there. But anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Maybe even your best Kamala Harris quote. I don't know. let's laugh together. Of course, you can always do that at uncommonsense.podcast.com, and you can go to YouTube. We are on YouTube, and would love to have you share and like there. That always helps us. And thank you for listening. This podcast is a production of Morganite Communications.